You're listening to NT Paranormal After Dark. Nothing normal about it.
Hey everybody, welcome back to NT Paranormal After Dark. We're here in the studio with the winners of this month's Show Your Genitals contest. And Sarah. How's everybody doing?
Did I lose the contest?
Doing good.
You don't have women don't have genitals.
You're correct.
That's basic science.
Like a Barbie doll.
That is basic science. Women do not have genitals.
Or nipples.
I thought they were just blurry.
They are. That's why you can't take pictures or post them on Facebook.
Women's nipples are just blurry.
Hey, Mina.
So we have Emilio and we have Carlos here from Paranormal Brothers.
Hi. Hello.
I have no idea how we know you.
I just kept showing up to your stuff.
That happens. So I mean, so you're another paranormal group like us, or not like us, but you guys, do y'all take like cases and stuff, or do you just go out looking for things to investigate? I mean, where are you guys at in your paranormal investigations?
Well, at the moment, we're not taking very many cases. You know, we're a fairly new group, so we're just going to where we can get access to at the moment.
Right.
You know, if things come our way, we'll take it, but you know, we're just basically going out to public places right now.
So, I mean, how did y'all get in? Like, tell us a little bit. Like, how did you decide that this was y'all's thing?
You want to take that one?
Yeah, it was kind of just growing up, and something would always happen. It was just small things. Things would go moving, get slid across the counter. No one's in the room, and it was just.
So this is like at home in your home life. Oh,
yes.
okay.
This was at home.
So you grew up with things happening.
Yeah.
Yes. One house we lived in Austin was we would like to say it was haunted because we had just so many weird things happen there that, you know, shadows in the corner of our eyes, or like he said, you know, we had one experience, or my mom had one experience where, you know, she was sitting she was in the kitchen and watching TV. She had a glass of water on the counter, and it just slid across the counter.
Oh, that's nuts.
Yep. And then there was another instance where, you know, we were all in the kitchen. We had, you know, like a little island area that looked out into the living room, and right there on the wall, we had a like a little blackboard notice board thing right there, and we're all sitting there just talking, having a conversation, and it just flies off the wall. It doesn't fall straight down.
I had an explanation for the glass when you said that, because I've seen that trick. But
condensation.
But yeah, that one, when stuff like flies across the room, that's when you really start questioning what's going on.
Well, back to the cup. Our dad actually got a marble, put it on that counter, didn't move. But somehow, when our mom was in the kitchen, that cup slid across the counter.
And like he said, the condensation. So, like, specifically with like a cup, especially like if it's cold, the condensation will hit, and that water will kind of make it do that. But how a marble should, you know, and then the marble's not wet, so it wouldn't do that. But something just like flying across, and you know, when you have that level of movement, of course, it's never, you know, on camera or anything like that.
No, never.
I don't know that we've ever got any like poltergeist activity, like evidence of it. Is there any you can think?
We only had the one thing that happened at Needful Things, and I don't think we got it on camera because it was when we were...
dude, how the hell did I forget that? Yeah, the dresser shaking. You should have been there for that. That was
I saw the episode. That was interesting.
God, I wish we would have caught more of it. Like, you can kind of see the light rocking back and forth that was sitting on top. But yeah, that was pretty intense. So you guys just basically grew up with like, but did you grow up like it? Did it get to a point where like you didn't think it was weird anymore? Like it was just a normal part of everyday life, or did it like freak you all out, or what?
It was always weird. At least to me, it was always weird. You know, like it was never like, oh, that's just the ghost. You know.
So
it was never like that.
At what point did you stop being, well, maybe not stop being weirded out, but at what point did it did it like cross a threshold? You were like, I'm gonna investigate that now instead of just being like ignoring it. Like that's what most people do, by the way. Normal people that aren't us, when like crazy stuff happens, they go, that didn't happen. But for whatever reason, I've got to figure out how this works.
Well, for me, I've always had an interest in, you know, the paranormal and stuff. I think when we first moved into that house, I was, you know, joking around. As soon as I walked through the door, I was like, "Oh, it's haunted," you know, just as a joke. And then all the weird things started happening through the years we lived there. But is what really got me into wanting to actually start investigating was just watching the TV shows and seeing like, oh, there's ways to actually document and show.
Possibly.
Yes. There's ways to go about figuring this out, and it doesn't have to be as scary as everybody makes it out to be.
Yeah, you know, I think when we first started doing like our first when I got inducted into the insanity that is my friend group now, like y'all were like, hey, go into my son's room and just lay that, and I was like, this is creepy, I don't want to do it, it's horrible. And now like we just wander around in the woods at night, like
There's a trick to Andrew's room though.
No fear. Well, yeah, but
there's something about the pattern of the drywall that makes it look like a person standing there. Could you not?
Yeah. Everybody talking to your mics, by the way. We sound like we're standing in the hallway. Yeah, that's in. So, like, when did you guys start the like official group?
Not too long ago.
Yeah, but y'all were doing like investigations before then, though, just kind of like outings, like a hobbyist sort of thing.
Yeah, I mean, we would just, you know, hear about, oh, this place may be haunted, so let's go check it out. Let's see what's out there. You know, see if the reports are true or whatever.
So really, y'all been doing investigations for like a few years now, but only like officially for what, past year? Has it been a whole year yet?
No, not even. It's only been maybe 4 months.
How's it? I know y'all got the page set up. Like, have y'all gotten any kind of good following yet at all?
Not much of a following.
Okay,
you know,
hopefully,
just friends and family.
Yeah, hopefully this helps out.
With our huge following.
Yeah, are like 9 people watching right now.
Yeah, just an idea. You know, we started our first official investigation was the Kyle Cemetery.
God, I love Kyle. I hate Kyle. How is every episode going to come back to Kyle? Like, we bring in like our first guest in a while, and we're going to end up talking about Kyle because we've all been there now. You guys are actually the first group that we let in on that at all, too, because we developed a relationship with you guys, and we've always been not like territorial of it, protective of it because we just don't want random people going in there and messing the place up. We only wanted to give that information out to people that seemed legitimate. And after talking with you specifically, you know, we're getting to know you a little bit more. But, you know, you were legitimate and you had real questions about what was going on there and ideas and things you wanted to see for yourself. So eventually, you know, we kind of gave you that information. You went out there and kind of confirmed, well, you know, we didn't really get a lot of evidence, but the places, I mean, how'd y'all feel going in there? Like,
the first time we went out there, to me, you know, it sounds cliche, but it was heavy. You know, it just had that weird vibe to it. Just felt like something was off in the area.
And it was the complete opposite for me because I didn't feel heavy or anything.
Yeah, that's right. You mentioned he's your blank slate. You've kind of adopted that sort of thing. So you don't get any information.
Nothing other than historical information.
Okay.
So that's the only information I go in there with, and I didn't really experience anything, but once we were inside the cemetery, it was like a really big spatial distortion because it would feel like I had to walk a lot further than what I should have to get from one side of the cemetery to the other.
That's your territory.
Or that's the opposite of what you know, we had, but it still fits with the story.
That place is just never the same. You've been back twice now, right?
Yeah, it really isn't because the second time, felt completely normal.
Yeah,
No spatial distortion or anything.
Even for me, like I felt the heaviness the first time. The second time, I might as well have been in a park. It was just nothing.
Because the first time we went, you couldn't see the back fence from the front gate. And then when we went back, it was very clear. Like, well, that's weird.
Hey, everybody who's watching. If y'all got any questions, post them up. Hey, Marianne, how's it going? Your fan club's already... The cup was dry and the counter was level. Okay, so my condensation thing. But that's typically what it is.
Right.
Like with most people when, they say, oh, the glass moved.
Mm-hmm.
There's usually some kind of, like, physical mechanic to it. So, aside from, or maybe Kyle, but, like, what's been, since you've been investigating, or even since before you were officially investigating as, like, a team or whatever, what's been your most memorable experience so far? Like, what's your favorite or scariest thing that's happened?
We're pretty dead sure that in another house that we were living in Austin, that my daughter's crib got picked up and dropped when everyone was downstairs. It was me, Emilio, my wife, and I think our mom was down there too, wasn't she?
Yes.
And our daughter was upstairs in bed asleep, and we heard a loud thunk come from the ceiling. Turns out that the kitchen was right below mine and Tamara's bedroom where our daughter was sleeping. So we all rushed up there just to make sure, because we thought she had fallen out of bed. And my wife picked up Michelle and then took her back downstairs. And then while Millie was downstairs as well, I was dropping things, stomping around, just trying to recreate the sound that we heard. And the only thing that came even remotely close was when I picked up half of the crib and then dropped it. And I dropped it from maybe 6 or 8 inches.
That's nuts. Like, we do a lot of sound comparison stuff too, and it's always weird when, like, the only thing that makes that sound is the one thing that shouldn't be making that sound. Yeah. Like, oh, that's completely... Because we had that at the jail. Like, we were trying to figure out what this one sound in the room... Because I was the only one in the room, and I had recorded it on the recorder, and I'm like, it sounds like the bed moving, and we tried to move everything around the entire freaking jail to get that sound, and the only thing that would make that specific sound was, like, sitting on the bed. And it's always creepy when it has something to do with, like, kids too, like like specifically the crib moving. Like, if it was like the dresser or like, it'd be creepy enough on its own, but just like considering that there's something going on with the crib, like, why is it doing that? What about you? Do you have...
The only thing that really comes to mind for me was, in that first house we lived in Austin, I was sleeping in my bed and sort of just woke up and was tossing and turning, and clear as day from the living room, I hear what sounds like a little girl scream.
What?
And I jump out of bed and run into the living room, and there's just nothing there. Everyone's in bed, sleeping.
Like, did it say something or just like a scream?
It was like a death scream.
Yeah, see, I never had that sort of stuff growing up. Like, I know y'all have heard me talk about it, like, at length, but I didn't have an experience until, like, I was older. Like, I had some things, like, I kind of went back and reflected on later. I was like, well, maybe there was something there, but I just never had anything profound like that. I can't imagine what that'd be like growing up. Well, I can kind of imagine because I've listened to your stories growing up, but you think you're insane.
Yeah, probably.
Or EMF poisoning.
Except the one time it happened outside of the house, so why would EMFs have been affecting me outside of the house? But yeah, that was pretty startling. And instead of going inside, I saw a face in the window, and my grandma was in the house, and instead of going in and making sure it wasn't someone trying to murder her, I left and, packed up my crap.
Grandma to die.
Packed up my crap the next day and moved into an apartment.
Which brother is which? Identify yourselves.
I am Emilio.
I'm Carlos.
Marianne, the discussion tonight is this is just another group, and they do things a little bit differently than us, but we've kind of adopted each other's kind of viewpoints, and we get along. We're trying to do the para-unity thing, but I guess that's the top kind of part of the topic is You know what? And I didn't even put it in the show notes or anything, so I'm kind of springing on you. But since you guys have started as a group, have you guys run into any of the other groups that are doing the like territorial thing that we've done? Like, have y'all had any problems with that yet?
Not really, no. Other than y'all taking over Kyle.
Stay out.
Tires.
No, but like every other group we run into, like they play nice at first. You know, they're like, oh yeah, we really like working with other teams, and then eventually, like as soon as we debunk or question any kind of method anybody else has, instead of it just being like a discussion or let's change our tactics or figure out a new thing, it's just, well, we don't work with those guys anymore because they're a-holes. And it's like, geez. And you guys are really cool because Emilio, you've sent me like some pictures and stuff like that to look at, and I gave my honest opinion on it, and
yes.
it didn't cause like any like friction. You're like, no, that's one possibility sort of thing.
Yeah.
What do you think of this? And you know, it's a discussion, and that's what, you know, that's kind of why we have you guys in here, because you're open-minded and open to like new different viewpoints and ideas and things like that. Mina, my husband is Hispanic, and I know you guys are as well. Do you believe in the witch doctors?
Like the brujas?
You say that, I think of Vampire the Masquerade because I'm a
Nerd.
RPG nerd.
Not really. I mean, you know, you see videos and stuff on YouTube of, you know, apparently the brujas coming into the households and doing weird stuff in the basement and everything, but it could just be homeless people. You know,
I haven't seen this. I think the closest thing we have to that is our crazy voodoo lady. He comes.
I had the chick that tried to rub the egg on me when I was pregnant. It's supposed to you're supposed to like rub it on them and like crack it under their bed, and if it turns, I don't know, it's.
I'm so white, I have no idea what you guys are talking about. I am completely ignorant to this.
We were in class, I wasn't feeling good. She was like, just take an egg and rub it. I was like, what?
I will say, my wife does come from a very Hispanic household, and they do that with the egg. You know, if they're sick or something like that, you know, her grandma would take the egg and rub it on them and crack it open. If it's black or whatever, apparently the illness has been taken away, but I've never seen it happen.
I didn't try it.
I got nothing. I'm totally out of my depth on this one. So we got some of the evidence and stuff, and we'll look at that. So like, what's the goal of your group? Like you're like, do you have like a mission statement, or are you trying to prove that the paranormal is a thing? You trying to find logical explanation? I mean, like, do you have a goal, or is this just like a hobby?
Do you want to go?
It is more of a hobby than anything, but right now we don't really have a goal because, in our opinion, the technology isn't there yet. So,
yeah, I agree.
And so there's really no way to get definitive proof if your equipment isn't sensitive enough for it.
Yeah, I mean, I was just watching a video where they were explaining multiple dimensions and like the reason we couldn't perceive, like, even if we could perceive it, we wouldn't understand it because we're only 4-dimensional, you know, first 3 dimensions and then time. But they were breaking it down into really good lay people terms, where it's like, you know, if you're only a 2-dimensional being and then something happens in the 3rd dimension, you can't perceive it. And so none of your technology is really, and so we're kind of stuck in our own dimension, and there's things that could be happening in a higher dimension, and we're just not perceiving it correctly, and so our instrumentation isn't looking at it, and it's all that kind of objective observation versus personal observation sort of thing, because our senses are so flawed. But I think it's, you know, I ask all the groups that I talk to, like, what is your goal? And they get, like, really flustered to say, like, oh, we don't really have a goal. We're just doing it because we have, like, a passion for it. And I'm like, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. It's great to go in and do that. That you, with that sort of, like, open-ended part of it, you can actually do more things than what my group can do. Because you can be more open to evidence that's not scientific evidence. You can be more open to trying things that are less controlled than what we would do, because our goal is very, very contained. We're trying to capture objective evidence, where you guys are just kind of going for the experience.
Yeah. Well, I would say if we were to have any real goal, it's, to develop some method or something that would give better proof. Everyone's running around with EMF detectors,
Right.
Using photography and filming in the dark, but if everyone's doing the exact same thing,
right? There's no innovation.
Exactly.
Like so your goal is to innovate.
Yes, be more experimental. Do something that other groups aren't doing and think outside of the box, because otherwise you're never going to go anywhere by doing the same stuff that's giving the same results.
And I'd like to say our group is trying, we do the mono wavelength photography. Nobody else really does that. Oh, I don't know. Some other groups might. I think you said you guys are starting to do it now.
Yes.
But the problem is I don't know where to go from. There's things we do different, but it's only the next step. I don't know what the end game is, right. and that's where I think our groups need to come together and discuss openly what we're, instead of being guarded off about it. Because I'll run in other groups and I'm like, how do you get your evidence? And they're like, oh, we don't want to tell you what we did to our spirit box to get all these cool voices or whatever. and to me, it's not like they have the secret formula. To me, it really feels like, no, I just have a really good way of faking this crap, and so I don't want to let you in on it, because then you'll just pick it apart. Whereas me, I'm like, okay, we figured out mono wavelength, we figured out how to debunk orbs, and we got it this far, but there's some holes in it. Who can fix this now, sort of thing. And I really like what you guys did with your spirit box, which I think before when we were talking about it, sounded like I was dumping all over it. I was just saying what the hole was in it, maybe, that maybe we could put our heads together. And I know Sarah loves it because we like the SP7, but the static is nuts.
Yes.
And it just it'll grate on your nerves or whatever. So you hook this bad boy up to a compressor pedal and filter out all the static.
Exactly. A compressor pedal that goes into reverb and then out through another amp that you can adjust the settings on the amp to give it delay or whatever you want with it to help filter more of that static out.
Oh my God, what all is going on here?
Can't really say if it works yet, 'cause I haven't caught anything on there that I can say is definitive. I haven't even caught anything on a regular spirit box to say anything about it.
So my favorite thing usually to say about any bit of paranormal equipment that we've come up with is if it's not catching anything, that probably means we fixed it and it works now.
Exactly.
It's because the thing that pisses me off about all the paranormal groups, and especially the TV shows, is every place they go into, they get evidence, and it's like every place can't be haunted,
right?
Or else there would be no question about whether or not the paranormal existed or not. Everybody'd just be like, "Yeah, there's ghosts. What are you talking about?" Right? There'd be no. So how are they just going in and consistently getting this? Well, it's because your data's contaminated. So after you get it dialed back to a point where you're not getting anything, it's probably working at that point.
Yep.
Yeah. But see, what I worry about with the compressor pedal is that you're filtering down a legitimate result. But I don't know how to get around that. I love the idea that you're not getting the extra crap, but now it might be dialed too far in the wrong direction.
You might be missing something that could actually be there.
Did you guys detune yours? Did you take the tuner out, or did you leave the tuner in?
I disconnected the antenna, but it still has the antenna attached to the circuit board. I haven't completely taken that part out.
Okay, so it can get. It's just you've basically deadened the signal
if
a
you
little
put
bit.
If you put it on AM mode, it will still catch some radio frequencies, but in the FM mode, I mean, unless you have a transmitter right there next to it, it's not going to pick up 106.1 or nothing like that.
Right, so you usually use the FM band on that,
yes,
right?
Yes.
Okay. So it sounds like you just left the AM antenna intact on
Yeah.
it. Okay. I've heard people get really good results on the AM band on it, but I like the FM because it's stronger. And we've got just a couple of results since we did the detuning or whatever. But just trying to sit in there with that thing for any length of time.
It's so
just
annoying.
So it'll make your jaw grate. It's
Yeah.
pretty bad. Okay, so dude, they're just having their own conversation. I'm just gonna let that roll. I'll address that later.
Have y'all been anywhere in Cleburne? I don't think they live anywhere near
I don't know.
our town there.
I mean, we've seen them down in Granbury.
Yeah.
I live in Granbury.
Oh, you do?
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
Well, there you go.
There you go. Have you guys done the jail?
That's
Not yet.
that's
It's
on our
next.
list.
It's next on the agenda.
Don't fall into the trap with that other Texas paranormal group where they want to charge you like $150 to do it.
I've seen that, and it's a ripoff. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh, I mean, they bring equipment and stuff that you might not have. I mean, it is what it is. You get what you
Yeah.
pay for. It's like a little party or whatever,
Yeah.
and they bring snacks.
Yeah.
And they teach you how to talk
It's
to
like
the
a little
ghosts.
pizza party with ghosts. You know.
Otherwise, it's
Yeah.
just $50, guys. It's $50 if you just email the place. They let you in. They love doing it. So I'm gonna show some of their evidence and stuff. Cause unless do you got a question or anything for? No.
I'm good, thanks.
Really? Are you gonna participate at all?
No.
Please.
No.
I wrote the questions out so that like you could jump in at any time and be like, "Hey, this is a good one."
I'll get right on that.
You bitch. Okay. All right. Let's see. What is the best? I'm gonna do this because that puts Sarah in the shot.
Gee, thanks.
And
now she can participate.
Yeah. Now she has to behave, and then I'm gonna put this little thing up here. I'm gonna cover
Oh, sweet.
you guys. Yeah.
Oh yeah, leave the ugly one.
Yeah, actually, I'm just gonna go to here. Okay, so you're looking at all my files. So they brought evidence and stuff with them, and I'm just gonna kind of go through the files and let them talk about it. Where do we want to start? Let's start here. Let's start with audio. Audio, video. So this is this first clip that you got marked as L.A. What do we? So
Okay, so this
let
is...
me cue it up real quick. So what are we looking at, and what's going to happen? What are we looking for?
Okay. So this is out at a place called Gravity Hill in Los Angeles. This was back in 2012, I do believe. Yes, December of 2012 when we went out there. So, you know, the whole story is, you know, you go out there, you park your car on the hill, and you start being pushed up the hill, you know. But I know from, you know, research and everything else, you know, it's probably just optical illusion. It's actually just going downhill, and the way the trees and everything are makes it appear that you're going uphill.
Yeah, I don't know about this one, but the one we were talking about before the show in San Antonio, like, it totally looks like an uphill climb, but it's actually a downhill grade because of, like, where you start or whatever.
Exactly.
It's nuts.
But
you were telling me something
yeah,
crazy about this place.
That's nothing to do with what happened. So what happens here is I'm filming. My dad's in the driver's seat. My mom's in the passenger seat of this vehicle here. And I was the brave one. I'm like, okay, let me step outside and film this, you know, if it's actually going up the hill. So I'm filming it, and then I hear what sound like footsteps behind me. So you'll see I drop the camera, and I look behind me, and I don't see anything. So, but you'll hear something as I pick the camera back up close to the end of the clip. Y'all should hear something in there.
Okay, I'm going to cut our so we can hear a little bit better. I'm going to cut our audio for a second, and I'm going to play it a couple of times. This is a totally professional show. So when I was watching this earlier, I get what you're saying now. I do hear it. It is really loud.
Yeah.
I thought that was like one of y'all talking in the video.
No.
I didn't catch that was the EVP. That just sounds like somebody talking. You heard it, right?
Yes,
Yeah, when you played the little clip they had separated out, it sounded like someone screaming, "It's gone." I don't.
It's gone. Yeah, like did there. Oh, dude. Okay, so we have just the straight audio clip of that. I'll play this again. That is awesome. I wish I would have caught it the first time when I was yakking. Dude, that is nuts. That is loud.
Yep.
That's-
And
That's a Class A EVP.
Just before we came up here, we were looking at it through a audio program that Carlos has, and we're not sure we're reading the spectrogram correctly.
Mm-hmm.
If we were, then that registers at about 860 hertz.
860. This is a totally professional show. I'm gonna blow up the video for you guys again. We'll go back, but it's right. It's when he comes back. You can. Here's it's like it's gone. Like what she said. Or did you guys come up with another thing you thought it might be saying?
I heard he's there or who's there.
Okay.
And I couldn't make out a thing.
Dude, I thought it was someone talking. That's just as loud as some of the stuff we've cut at Kyle.
Yeah, Mariana says that she hears who's there.
Okay, sorry, I screwed up the feed there, guys. So I hope y'all can hear it now. It's just towards the end, and I'm actually gonna play this just straight audio. Here, let me go to group camera, throw this bad boy up here. So this is y'all just isolated the clip down, right?
Yes, just the audio.
Me. Before y'all leave, I'm throwing this in my audio editor, and we're gonna
Go for it.
We're doing a spectral analysis on
it.
this bad boy. We'll have to report on that later.
Casey wanted to know if there's a link somewhere they could go listen to it.
I definitely tagged their page in the description of today's show. I don't know if you guys have it up there.
This video is not on our page, no.
See, that's where you're going wrong. This video needs to be on every page. This is good. This is good evidence. I like this. And so you're absolutely sure there wasn't anybody else around, or wasn't like your mom calling out?
I mean, it's out there. It's pretty isolated. So I mean, I heard something behind me, but it was not as loud as what it is on the audio.
I want to do you a favor that nobody has ever done for me in this field. I'm going to believe you. Because every time I show evidence, they're like, that's bull crap. I'm going to go look for myself. I'm going to say, hey, no, they had their bases covered.
And you can tell, it can't be either my mom or my dad in the vehicle, because I'm a good 25, 30 feet away from the vehicle. If it was one of them saying something, it would have sounded further out in the distance.
Well, that, and in the video you can see the window. What I was looking at, like through the fifth replay, the windows are up, because you said your mom was in the car, so I was like, well, maybe it's because it sounds like a female voice to me,
right.
Yeah,
and somebody like calling, but the windows are up, and the other thing is you can hear the engine of the car running.
Yeah.
So your mother's voice would have been on the other side of glass from inside the car, and it would have been behind the engine noise.
Yeah.
Right.
So it would have been more muffled, but this sounds like it's echoing from another thing. And also, you're rotating the phone as you're catching this. So I don't think the phone is actually facing the car when that. Oh no, I get,
yeah, it's facing the vehicle.
It is
when it
facing
happens,
the video,
but it sounds like it's either right on the mic or like right behind me.
I'm just getting stupid messages on my phone now. Marianne says it sounds like a girl. Julie says it sounds like a girl. Allie says it's a girl. Okay, it's a girl. We get it. We have it. Now, if you guys can just tell us what it actually says, because there's a little discrepancy there. Okay, so I'll go with video 1 here, and I'll pause it. So you can explain what we're looking at here.
So these are some clips of some video feedback experiments that I started doing. Basically, it's filming the output of the video camera.
So you would be filming. What is the initial camera actually filming when you do this experiment?
It's facing the television.
So it's recording, and then it's feeding back into the television.
Yes.
As a monitor.
The display from the camera is coming out of the television. And then the camera is filming the television. So it's filming its own display.
Right. So basically, it should just be like a black screen, but because of the miracle of electronic science, you get different things.
Yes.
But it's basically when you put two mirrors up against, and you get that like infinite sort of mirror effect sort of thing. Okay. And was this just how did you come up with this? Was this just to see what you would get, or was it like an article you read, or like what does it prove or not prove? Or
I was reading about like old time type paranormal phenomena and how people would do it, and there was, I can't remember his name, but there was a guy who did experiments similar to this where he would record static on a television and get images out of it, or he would use a camera to generate the static and then put the static through the feedback loop, the same way I'm doing here. Mm-hmm. So that was my goal, is just, use modern technology, LCD television and stuff like that. I can't generate the static on the newer televisions,
right? Yeah.
So this is the best I could do.
Right. There's no open air. So knowing how you did this, it's real weird that you're getting the flare here.
And this is sort of zoomed in. I mean, you sort of have to adjust it to a point where you can get those flares and get it zoomed in at the right spot.
Right.
But you don't want just the black screen, otherwise nothing's going to happen. So you kind of want,
and you
that
can see the mirrored effect here with like dot 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 dot. It kind of goes off into infinity. But what we're looking at here is this, and the camera's totally still. It's like on a tripod.
Yes.
Right. So, and there's nothing moving in the field of view of the camera or anything like that.
I'm standing behind the camera. And this is probably maybe 5 feet away from the television, zoomed into it.
Okay, and what you guys will probably see is, I don't want to call it an orb. It does it disservice.
Flare.
Because I hate orbs.
An anomaly.
God, this is horrible. So yeah, there's like just this like spot of movement in here. That's my mouse, guys. Don't get too excited. This ain't Pizza Hut. Good Lord.
Well, if no one can hear, the show is useless.
Everyone can hear.
Maybe.
So there's this really cool movement flare that really shouldn't be there. And my first thought is what I was talking about earlier before the show, is that when you're filming any kind of screen, a screen has a certain frame rate output. Most of them do like 60 hertz now. Some do like 65. And then you get into the higher end TV. It's 125 and even higher on like some of the 4K display stuff like that. And then the older TVs, they'd be like 30 and 60 frames per second. But they were the different scan lines or whatever. And so when you would film, especially when you were doing it like with old videotape, you would see like a line, and you would see these like weird sort of anomalies in there because the camera, its standard is usually doing like 30 to 60 frames per second, and so in a lot of times it wouldn't line up. Do you know what the frame rate of the camera you were using at the time was?
I have no idea. That's something I can look at in a little bit, but
I mean that would be my first guess. But the movement is just so weird, like the way it like flies by, and it makes me wonder if like maybe there couldn't have been like some dust or something like that between the camera and the screen that you're filming in because of that infinite kind of feedback effect. It could cause
Very
that,
well could
maybe,
be.
But I don't know what that would look like. I've never even tried this experiment.
Yeah.
I think it's really.
My only thing with that dust is that you can see it follows the same line as the feedback dots on the bottom.
Right.
And you can also,
actually,
when you're doing this experiment, you could take your hand and move it in front of the camera,
and you'll just see infinite hands.
You will see how that feedback looks whenever you have an actual physical object pass between.
So I hate to add legitimacy to something you've done here, but okay. So like, anybody that's like watching the video, so like you can see the dots and how it's like a real clear line, right? This crosses over that boundary, and instead of that being duplicated a bunch of times, it's a singular. That, and it being that same flare, I don't know what would cause that. Like, I'm really interested to, because it should be duplicated, and it also comes from the back to the front, like it's coming through the multiplied frame.
Right. Exactly.
You get what I'm saying? Like,
Yes.
No, you don't.
Yeah, I do. I just.
It's nuts. It's like it's going through 30 virtual TVs to come.
It looks like it's going against the feedback.
Right.
The feedback's going the other direction, backwards into the blackness, abyss, whatever you want to call it, and then that's coming out.
That's totally how you summon demons, by the way, is with multiple video cameras and recording the TV. Okay, so this is more of that same experiment.
Experiment.
But it flares up. And what's interesting about this is the detail you kind of capture. Now, I tend to think this is kind of random, but it is pretty interesting in that it's got kind of facial features to it. It's like dipping back and
yeah.
How close in relationship to that flare that we just looked at was this?
This was probably about 10 minutes after the flare.
Oh, so there's a big
gap between this. I had this experiment running for probably about a total of 20-25 minutes of recording.
I could just watch this for like 20 minutes tripping on shrooms. It's just awesome. Where were you just doing this at your house?
Yeah, this was just a trial experiment to see what happened, and this is.
Was it in a place that, I mean, any kind of history, activity in the location or anything? So this is just a raw.
Yeah, this is just in my apartment, in the bedroom, filming the TV.
Yeah, good luck with that.
Yeah, we've had some weird things happen in that apartment as well.
Since you summoned a demon there.
Well, actually, it may have been after that.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like to me.
But we had.
Go.
I wasn't home at the time, but my wife said she messaged me on my phone while I was at work, and she said the dresser just fell over. It's backed all the way up against the wall. It fell over, like on its face, and threw everything across the room.
Tammy says it's definitely a face. What? Oh, Julie says she likes the dude wearing the glasses and the feedback. Thanks, that's really helpful. She can hear me, just not the other people. I don't know why. They're all at the same volume. Hopefully that's fixed. Okay. Sometimes weird stuff happens here. Okay, well, that's your fan club right there. Okay. Well, it's because you let him do these stupid experiments at the house.
Oh, she don't let me. I do it while she's gone.
That's better.
She's probably finding out that I'm
Where's
doing
the
them
cat?
right now.
Oh, we sacrificed it to Satan to see what would happen. Just chill out.
We'll get you another one.
She said she told him he was trying to summon demons too.
All right. Okay, so this is from our. This set of pictures here is from our mutual acquaintance, Kyle Cemetery. And I like these. And so, like, I think that this here was actually the first picture you sent me from your first outing there.
Yes.
And I was immediately a smartass about it. I'm like, yeah, you got a big orb up
and
here.
These are the only pictures, the only evidence that we do have up on our page at the moment.
Right. So initially, if you just look at this photograph here, they're digital photos, right?
They're taken.
Do we still call them photographs?
This phone here.
Yeah. Okay. So it's phone image, and there was moisture out there that, like
yes,
you said,
it was misting and a little windy out there.
So yeah, that's easy to explain, right? Then you get in, but here's the cool thing. Just take a good look at this picture, guys, because it's really clear. It's really in focus. Everything looks hunky-dory except for, your orb up here.
When I was trying to show this as evident, that orb never even crossed my mind as being anything evidential.
Because you're a logical person.
I think the first time I even noticed that orb was when you pointed it out.
Right. So, like any good investigator, they take series of photos, and then you get to the next one here. And what's really good, he's barely moved. It's the same area, everything, and everything is still in focus. So there's nothing wrong with the camera here. But he did point out if you move in here and you look in this kind of area, there is like kind of I guess a misty sort of figure, and you can almost see like shoulders and a head, which is pretty good. And you know, it very well could be more moisture, dust, or something like that. But it has a very, very sort of human short as hell though, because that headstone's what only.
Yeah, and just before taking these photos, on the other side of that headstone, sort of between that headstone and that tree, I did see.
Right here?
Yes, I did see with my own eyes, like a black something about that same height, and it shot off towards the back, and I sort of stumbled back at first and tripped, and then sort of composed myself, and then took off running back in that direction. There was nothing there. EMF detectors did not spike. Got nothing on audio. There was nothing over there. And then after seeing that, maybe about 2 minutes later, I took a few steps back and started snapping the photos.
So
that's where that came from.
That other group that went out there that we saw on YouTube, that's where they saw the.
This is the exact spot that scared them. You've heard us talk about them. They stopped, like investigating entirely.
That's the exact spot they saw it.
Yeah.
This is where they were
behind
at.
That tree. They were kind of angled towards it from the front fence.
This is where they were sitting
back there.
Wow.
So okay, you guys who are watching, it's a set of 4 pictures. So kind of look. There's the first one. Second one, you can kind of see something. Looks like it's kind of coming out of that tilted over headstone. Next one, snap. This one's a little slightly out of focus. The focus has changed, but it's because you've actually changed positions. Like you're panned a little bit to the left. So these 3 are kind of the thing. And there's only one of them with this anomaly. So the only logical explanation I can come up with is this bit of moisture here that you captured in the second picture may have drifted down in a way over here, which is causing a little bit of refraction. But that's kind of a stretch because it's not really consistent with the image that you're capturing. And then there's just nothing here, and they're all just snapped like together. Plus, you had an experience that went with it, which is always good. So while it's not like definitive, like we can't just bust it now and all quit and be like, oh, they caught ghosts. But I like it. I trust it. You know, it's a lot better than the stuff I get on the internet. So I think y'all did a really good job with it. I think it's a good find. And I really like that you're upfront about the like environmental conditions and stuff. You're like, hey, there was moisture out there. Hey, you know, there were these things going on. You get all these other groups that are out there and they're like, no, we checked every single like, really? You don't think you could have made any kind of mistakes at all?
They're asking about that orange spot on the branch. It looks like a flare, maybe.
Orange spot on the branch. Okay, so let me do this.
You see it go up. You see what I'm talking about? At the end of that branch, is that some dry leaves?
Oh, the tree penis?
Is that dry leaves or is that flare?
So that right there.
That's where that tree was hit by the tornado.
That's the broken tree,
okay.
and that's just the light catching that fuzz that comes out of the inside of it. That's that broken limb that's over there. We've been out there way too much.
No kidding.
I can just look at any picture and I'm like, no, that's definitely the
yeah, there's parts of these trees that are dead because there was a really bad storm that hit. Mina, you probably remember going through Cleburne when the night where like 20 tornadoes touched down. One went straight through that cemetery and a bunch of the trees are torn up, so they're dying in places.
Yeah, see that orange stays in the exact same spot every time. It's just the end of that branch there.
And something I just thought of, being out there, I've been out there twice. I may have missed some of the headstones, but from my recollection, that's the only headstone that's damaged or leaned over or not upright.
There's a few. There's actually some really old ones that you probably tripped over and didn't even realize they were headstones.
Like
out
the
there.
little
rock.
There's some that are
that's
fully
probably why
broken.
I tripped over when I got scared.
There's some that are fully broken or they just have the footstones left, but that's the only one that's leaned over like that.
Yeah.
The rest of them are so destroyed they're gone.
What's sad? That's a fairly new headstone too. I think that's one of those military.
It's not military, but it's newer. They've redone it.
Yeah, it's one of the remodel ones. And this over here, this is a Mason one here. And what I think's really interesting about. Okay, so let's combine your experience with our experience here. we've got a really like little kiddish sounding voice out there saying there's a monster in the woods, and that's the one that's in the cemetery or whatever.
Yeah.
And that is a very little kid-sized looking misty thing.
It's the right height.
Could be the same thing. What I'm more impressed with is they saw the shadow thing, and you guys saw the shadow thing.
Oh, Shadow Brad?
Yeah, on the other side of the cemetery.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you guys will take more trips, and I'm sure we'll take trips out there together. But the thing is the stuff that happens inside the cemetery seems very, very separate from the stuff that happens behind the cemetery. Like, and I don't know how far back there you guys ventured at all.
We've gone out to you go out that back gate, and then there's that that dirt road
The oil
back
field
there.
road, yeah.
Yeah, we've never gone past that.
I was waiting for him
road.
to say there was this big tunnel of trees back there.
No, we've never gone past that road because every time we've been out there, it's pitch black at night in a cemetery. We don't know if that's private property or what's back there, so we try to avoid it. So that's about as far as we've gone. We've never gone past that road.
It's just woods back there.
Good to know.
We hiked back there. It's just, yeah.
Let's look at some of the comments. Everybody sees it. Yeah, it's orange. Blah, blah, blah. Somebody's giving me the red. I saw that too. Thought it was just leaves. Pinkish orange. Yeah, that's just a fallen tree. To the left of the taller graves.
Yeah, she's talking about the mist figure.
Right, yeah. Okay, so it looks like everybody likes y'all's pictures. So keep that up. All right, let's look at another set of pictures that they brought with us. So is this from where you guys took the video? Is this the same investigator, or is this separate?
No, this is completely different. The video was taken in Los Angeles. This is actually in a small suburb of Austin called Pflugerville.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
This is good drinking there.
This one, I'm ready to have it debunked, but I still want to do some more testing on it to see what's going on with it, really.
Right. So this is the baby powder on the car thing, because the car moves on its own. Which, and as soon as you were showing these to me, I was like, okay, this is something we can talk about how to debunk it or whatever. But then you told me extra stuff that concerns me about this.
See, you could see where the powder is sprinkled on the back of the car, but you don't see that same pattern.
Yeah, no handprint, no handprints here or whatever. But they were on. So this is the gas.
Yeah, still the back of the car on the gas cap.
Right. So I'm thinking this one is probably from the residual oil, because you guys
closing the gas.
You
cap,
guys close it. So that one's easily debunked. So and for those of y'all that might not know what we're talking about, so is it just Texas or is it everywhere?
It's a pretty common story. I know, at least locally, because I've heard it in Keene, San Antonio, Austin.
Tell us the tale, Sarah.
It's a different story in a lot of different places, but the one I've heard most often is there was a bus that got stuck on the tracks and a train hit it, and of course, dead kids. So if you stop on the tracks, they try and push your car out of the way so you don't get hit.
All right. This story is close to the same, a little different. This is out. It's called Jake's Bridge. It's off of Jake's Hill Road in Pflugerville. The story behind the bridge is there was a cotton farmer and his family that lived out there during right before the Great Depression. When the Great Depression hit, the cotton farmer basically was losing everything. So he basically just drove his family out to the bridge, killed his wife and kids, and then hung himself off the side of the bridge.
Dear God.
So, that's worse.
I like her story better.
The legend is, when you go out there and you park on the bridge, it's the wife and the kids trying to push you off the bridge to save you from Jake.
From former Jake. Okay. All right. So.
But Casey says that's not just a Texas thing. They've got stories like that in Oklahoma, Arkansas, and Louisiana.
So anyway, the big deal with the train tracks, or in suicidal farmer story or whatever, you put baby powder on your car or whatever, And then when it's done moving, you get out and you look, and oh, there's handprints on the car. Well, the big debunk for that is the oils from your hands get on the car just from touching, you know, in this case, what we're looking at, the gas tank. So when you put the baby powder on it, takes it a minute or two, but eventually it coalesces where your hand touched. And that's clearly what's going on in this picture. Then we get to the next picture here, which is the back. And this is generally where people will see the little kid handprints or Farmer Jake's handprints or whoever's handprints from pushing the car. But in your pictures, you don't have any handprints back here.
To us, it looks like right there, that big blotch of powder.
Right here?
Possibly, up on top. Like maybe somebody leaning up against the car, pushing it.
Right.
But
like with their whole arm, like a football player.
Or pushing with their whole body or something.
It's interesting, but that one could be anything.
Yeah, it could be anything.
That one. And then we get here, and this is where it gets nuts, because I said the same thing, like, oh, that's the oils from your own hands, but then you told me you washed the car beforehand.
Yep. I was obsessed with that car. I took care of it. I babied it, and so it was washed just before we went on this trip, and then once we got there, we put the baby powder on after we were there. And then we went and parked on the bridge.
Yeah, we put the baby powder on the car maybe about 500 to 1,000 feet ahead of the bridge, and then drove real slowly up to the bridge.
Yeah, because we wanted to keep as much baby powder as we could evenly laid out across the back of the car, so we didn't go very far with it on there at all.
So there's a few things that make this particular picture significant. One, it's at the front of the car where you didn't put baby powder.
Exactly.
Correct.
So unless you guys touched it with having baby powder on your hand, that's the only way that should be there. Second off, if I'm a spectral being or anybody with intelligence and I'm trying to push the car forward, I'm probably not pushing on the front hood of the car. Like, it doesn't make sense for handprints to be there for any reason. So that's a little weird. The third thing that was really good about this particular story is, like, unlike the one in San Antonio where we know it's a downhill grade, this one, you were saying it looks like an uphill grade, just like the legend, but the thing is you were saying the car will sit there?
You can sit there for 5, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, and you will not move. You won't go anywhere. Car's in neutral, you won't move.
And then all of a sudden, just randomly,
all of a sudden, you may start slowly inching forward. We've been out there a couple times. This is the only time we actually got, like, you know, the powder prints and everything, but we went out there a lot just for showing our friends and everything. And there's sometimes you go out there and you'll feel something hit the car, and then you'll start moving.
And then in this is the other side of the front of the car, and there's just no handprint.
Yes.
Is this residual baby powder, or is this just dirt from being out there? I wonder.
It may have just been dirt from being out there.
I don't know. It's pretty good. Like, you know, I've never been real big into that particular type of legend or whatever, but I like your approach to it. I mean, they're real logical about it.
Yeah.
They're not a-holes like the other group. They're just like, no, it has to be baby ghost hands.
I've always liked the stories. Like, they're interesting.
I think that's the more fun part about it than the whole paranormal aspect anyway. It's just going and getting all the legends and the story, because it all comes from somewhere. Whether it's psychosis or a real experience or something actually going on, the story that's behind it is just the best part. What do we got next?
Where are we?
I don't know. Maybe if you paid attention to our show.
I don't like you. You're mean.
I don't like you either. Yeah, we're an hour into the show. We're only at number 4.
Oh, jeez.
Oh, yeah, we looked at the evidence. We asked the end goal already, so we've done 5. I was going to skip some.
Oh, because you don't like my questions?
Nope.
They're all random anyway.
I was gonna ask 14.
Okay, ask 14. What's 14?
What is the biggest disappointments, evidence location wise?
You're my biggest disappointment.
I hate you. You're so mean.
Kyle.
Kyle's disappointing?
I saw nothing, and I got nothing on video, audio, pictures. I got nothing. So,
it was disappointing because you weren't able to capture your experience. Okay. I thought you were saying
it was a very poor experience from the way it had been hyped up before.
Yeah, that's our fault.
My biggest disappointment is probably y'all's too. Is Alton.
God,
Alton Bridge.
I wanted that to be so awesome.
Exactly.
The story behind it is just phenomenal. It's just
great.
well crafted.
Yes.
That place is crap.
And one of the biggest reasons it was so disappointing to me was because I thought I had some amazing evidence from there.
Oh, that's right. We do have.
And then Brad took a shit on it.
No, I took a shit on my own evidence.
He took a crap on it, and then he sent it to me, and he sent me an article. He's like, "Hey, have you read this?" I'm like, "I already knew it, but I didn't say it." And he's like, "Yeah, I'm not doing that anymore. Here, do it.
Yes.
Here, we can show it. This is So some of you guys may be doing this in your group, and
Stop.
yeah, there's no nice way to say it. Really, is this the right video here? Yep. Okay, so some of you guys out there with your own groups, you might be doing the flashlight experiment, where you just... We should vote him off the island. Man, Sarah,
Everyone thinks you're an ass.
I am an ass. That's the charm of the show. You unscrew the flashlight just to the point where it's barely making contact.
Exactly.
And you said it. And so this is your run of that. Where is this? Is this on the bridge?
On the bridge, yes.
Can you turn this flashlight off, please? Thank you. Thank you very much.
Oh, you're so polite.
Hey, if there was anything out there, I really didn't want to make it mad.
So explain why you don't like that experiment anymore.
Thermodynamics. There's a little piece of plastic in there that when that light bulb starts getting hot, it will heat up that piece of plastic and it will make it expand. When that plastic expands, it cuts off the circuit to that light bulb.
Right, because it's barely making contact.
So that light will turn off.
Right.
And then when that light bulb cools down again and that plastic gets cold, that light will turn right back on.
And then
it happens every time.
And see, there's another group I see that does it, and what they'll do is they'll get like 4 or 5 feet away, and they're moving around and stomping, so the vibration is causing it to kind of trigger
that
too
works
sometimes.
too.
Yeah.
And being on a bridge, so close to that road over there, I mean, any car passing by could cause the vibrations to do that also.
There's just, on the giant list of things that could make that light turn on and off, it's just ghost is at the bottom of it.
Yes, for sure.
And it's just like, well, there's 1,000 other things it could be, but it could be a ghost, or you could be an idiot. But I didn't want to say it out loud. No, I was really happy to see kind of like shelf that one.
Yeah. Now it's just a cool parlor trick if you want to scare your friends.
Yeah, I could see that. I could see Allie falling for it.
Not. You said something now. We can't do it.
She's not watching. She's not really paying attention. She's probably paying about as much attention to our show as you are.
You can make her think her house is haunted.
She already thinks her house is haunted. I guarantee it. So, how much science do you guys like to use? And you guys seem at least moderately focused on science, if not totally focused to it.
Try to be.
We try to use science to a point, just like the common sense type science, like with the flashlight. But I mean, really, we trust more of what we feel in the environment more than we're going to trust any type of equipment that we have out there.
Okay, so you're more on that other side from where we're trying to capture things objectively, like the less human interference, the better. But with you guys, if you think you feel something, to you that's convincing to you guys, and you would just like to be able to document it objectively if possible.
Yes, I mean, we go out to a place and you get the cold chills or the hair stand up, that's going to bring me back to a location more than an EMF spike is ever going to.
EMF spikes aren't going to bring me anywhere. If somebody's like, hey, we get a lot of EMFs out there, I'm like, then you probably shouldn't hang out there. You're going to get brain cancer. Do you think there is in the future ever any kind of possibility that science and I guess spiritualism is the best word I can think of, but you think they're ever going to reconcile? You think there's ever going to be enough science to prove or completely disprove?
I was actually talking with him at the house before we came up here. Yes, there will be a time when science is going to most likely have an explanation for everything that's going on. And at that time, we're going to look back at, the 2000s and think we're all idiots for saying it's ghosts.
Like looking at doctors back in medieval times, like let's put leeches on them, and that was innovative for the time. Like they were thinking, okay,
they still use leeches in modern medicine. I'm just throwing that out there.
I hate you. I hate you.
If you get a limb cut off and they put it back on and it's not getting good blood flow, they use leeches to fix that.
Yeah, but they're not trying to suck Fadians out of your butt.
They're not bleeding bad humors off, is what they were doing back in the day. They would bleed people too.
You know what? You just run the show.
I should.
You've got do it.
We're voting you off the island.
Okay, I'm out. Peace.
Bye, bitch.
Teamwork.
I got back. Oh no, what's that stupid show Caitlin made me watch on Nickelodeon? What's gonna work? Teamwork.
I don't. I want to innovate and I want to go forward and I want to prove as much as I can with science, but I just don't think I think no matter how much you reconcile, prove, disprove, there's always going to be an extra step that people are going to take it. Right. They're always going to find that loophole of, well, what if sort of thing. Right. Does that make sense? I don't think there's any amount of science that we can apply to it where you're ever going to have a definitive answer, really.
Well, I like to compare what we're doing in the paranormal field nowadays to the ancient people trying to predict the weather. They had their own methods that were hit and miss sometimes, but it still took a few thousand years before we got a seismograph or something where we could actually predict some sort of phenomena. So to me it's sort of the same thing. Like, we're using equipment and we're using what we think works. Mm-hmm. But another few years and we're gonna actually have a piece of equipment that does work.
Right. Yeah. Like right now people are using EMF detectors, but you're only getting part of the, like I've said before, is I don't think there's a correlation between legitimate paranormal activity and EMF spikes at the time. But I don't see causation, but I do see some correlation, but you're only getting part of the picture because it's not recording all the data that needs to be recorded. It's not there's actually something else that correlates and you're only getting part of that picture.
Right.
And eventually somebody's going to figure out what we really need to be measuring is E fields or something, Willy Wonka fields, whatever, and it happens to have an EMF signature in it. So we've been getting a part of that data, and that's why it's been real hit or miss.
Right.
Do you think that so obviously you guys believe in supernatural activity, because you guys go off feelings or whatever. Do you think that coexists with science? Like there is a science behind the mechanic by which that works. So there really are ghosts, there's people walking around after they live, but there's some kind of, they have to exist within physics and stuff like that, right? Or do you think there doesn't have to be any rhyme or reason to it?
I think that, yeah. Oh shoot, I lost my train of thought.
There has to be some sort of physics behind it, because what are we measuring?
Right.
What you see, if you see something, there's obviously some sort of light or something there. There has to be some sort of physics behind it.
Yeah.
For it to affect equipment the way it does, draining batteries or, getting audio recordings or something like.
Yeah, it's a weird path you go, because if you say that the supernatural does correlate with a scientific explanation, then it's almost like you're saying the supernatural. It's the science proving God sort of argument. Like if science can explain everything God does, then God doesn't exist. But that's not necessarily what that's doing. It depends on how you look at that argument. Science can show how God did everything, but that doesn't necessarily disprove the existence of God. It just shows how the mechanic by which it's working, which has always been our goal, is that supernatural things can exist, but we just don't understand what it is. Like
that's why we call it supernatural.
Right, yeah. Otherwise, it's more like preternatural or or just normal. It stops being paranormal and it just becomes normal.
It becomes less pseudoscience and science.
Like we've leaned away from the idea that like human spirits like go on in that form and are like intelligent or whatever. Like everything we've interacted with things that seem like they're intelligent, but they don't seem like they're human. And then we've run across things that seem like they're human, but they don't seem like they're intelligent. It seems like kind of that like stone tape theory kind of replay thing, even though we don't do stone tape.
So how would y'all classify something like that? Something intelligent that doesn't seem human?
And see, everybody else is going to go, it's a demon. And I don't think demons are a thing. It's the best word for it is alien or interdimensional or... the real word for it is we don't know what the F it is. It doesn't seem like it's... That's the best thing you can describe it as. Doesn't seem like it's human, and it seems like it's intelligent. I don't know what that is. I mean, we can call it a demon, but that's just the word you put on something that we don't understand. You may as well call it an alien or supernatural or whatever. And that's kind of where it goes from there.
What?
You crushing candy?
No, I think it's things outside of our dimension. That's...
Yeah, I'm leaning more towards... Casey says aliens. Marianne says, what's the address? What? Oh, she's talking to you. Okay. The local story, the guy shot... Oh, y'all are talking about the Opera House in Granbury.
She was asking if we could get in or do the history. Like, we know quite a bit about the history, but it's, like, impossible to get in.
Yeah. Let's see. Let's go through here. Who've been like? What have been y'all's influence? Like y'all started going, y'all were doing it on your own, but you said like you were watching some of the TV groups and like I know you guys know us or whatever. What have been like your biggest influences on kind of like developing your own strategy or pushing forward and being innovative? Like, you think there's anybody out there doing it right?
None of us are doing it right.
Okay.
I mean,
especially y'all.
That's why it's pseudoscience. I mean, no one's ever going to do it 100% right.
Right.
Or we could just go out there and do our own experiments and figure out what works best.
Right.
I gotta say, probably some of my biggest influences, what really got me going in it, would be like the TAPS team.
I like their early episodes because they were one of the only teams that would go in and find nothing.
Yeah.
And I would just be riveted on it'd be like they'd just be debunking stuff left and right, and I'm like, I feel like I can kind of trust them a little bit here because they're kind of showing you the boring stuff,
right?
But then you can obviously tell when the network picked it up and started paying them more money because then all of a sudden they were getting stuff
about season 3, season 4.
Yeah, we had a really rough start when we were just doing the YouTube videos or whatever, because I wanted to be 100% just like out there. So I was releasing these like 4 and 5 hour videos that were completely just, there were no cuts. Like you could see all the investigations, like the hour and a half where we got nothing in between. I'm like, look, there's no cuts in here. All we did is like sped it up so you don't have to watch the whole hour and a half or whatever. And then we would release it, and everybody's like, oh, it's just so boring. Like it wasn't entertaining enough.
Right.
So we had to start like cutting it and things like that. But we still always offer up like the raw footage or whatever because of that. But I always wanted to see like the raw footage that TAPS had. But
yeah, that'd be interesting.
Yeah, but I never liked the British one, the Most Haunted.
Yeah,
that one always bugged the crap out of me. And I am sorely addicted to Ghost Adventures. I've talked about that at length, but let's see what else we got.
Ghost Adventures is good for entertainment.
all kinds of entertainment. Sometimes they have some legitimate investigations. Sometimes they have some completely not, like Alton Bridge.
Mostly they give
That
me
Alton
rage.
Bridge one was terrible.
Oh my god! So I tried
We
to
just
go back
boo
and
at the Alton
rewatch
Bridge
it.
one. Boo.
When the first time it came on, I was just like, "You bastards! This is stupid." And then I watched I liked the Demon House documentary. Like it
That was
really
good, yes.
And I actually they released some of the extra footage from that didn't.
Really?
Yeah, and I haven't watched it yet, but apparently it's got more footage from like from the end when he's in there on his own. And I want
that would be interesting to watch.
I heard it's pretty awesome, and apparently it was like on a camera that they had to recover or whatever, because I guess he dropped the camera and it like screwed up the data on it or whatever, and they were able to recover it, and so they just like released it on YouTube. I need to go check that out.
Wow.
But I really like that documentary for no apparent reason, just because I felt like they did a legitimate documentary about it, even if the investigation wasn't great. And so I went back to watch the Alton episode. I'm like, well, maybe I was just harsh on it because I was there or whatever. And me and her watched it, and we were just both like, I hate you, Zach Bagans. I hate you. But then they've got other good episodes, like the Skinwalker Ranch one correlates with kind of our experiences. And then there's one where they're...
I don't know. I liked Ghost Hunters. Someone on there mentioned Taps. That was my favorite thing. I didn't like Ghost. I'd never watched Ghost Adventures till you joined the group.
I don't like him because he's like, I'm gonna go beat up the ghosts, and you can tell he just like lifts weights because he just wants to like get into an arm wrestling competition with a demon or something. What is the name of the man?
I already told her
on his shirt. Oh, okay.
That's Emilio.
I've been fielding comments.
I boo when I see them do the
Mineral
Wells
Wells
one too. Yeah, you know why I boo it? Because of them, nobody else can get in that damn place legitimately.
See, the one episode from Ghost Adventures that I liked, I can't remember what place they were in, but it was the one where that brick flew across the room.
That's the very first. That's not even part of their series. That's the first documentary that they did.
Was it?
Yeah, and that's the Goldfield Hotel.
Yeah, the Goldfield.
In Las Vegas. That one's crazy. And there's one on this the last season they did. They were in the like restaurant or whatever that was built on the Native American ground or whatever. And like you see and hear this knife like fly off the bar. And then they go and find it. But then they're like panning across the room, and you see this like really dense shadow figure just like dart by the door and then like duck down. But it's like solid. Wow. Like it's not like it's like there's actually somebody out there, and they run out there, and there's nobody, and there's nowhere for anybody to run. Like there's just miles and miles and miles. But I always question it because that's how they presented Alton too. I can never look at a single one of their videos and not question, because when they went out to Alton, they act like, oh, we're out in the middle of nowhere. There's just nothing for miles around. If we get hurt, there's nobody. And it's like, dude, the highway's right there. There's a church right there. There's a gas station like just a mile down the road that you can walk to. Like, it's ridiculous. I don't trust the TV people, and that's why I don't get too mad when people don't trust us either. I mean, we could just be posting crap online. Anybody could, and I think that's one of the reasons. Like, you're never going to get any kind of consensus on this stuff being real, because unless you experience it for yourself, record it for yourself, anything. I mean, it's that whole seeing is believing sort of thing.
Yeah,
and I mean that's how it was for me. So which way are you guys? So you guys lean that the paranormal is a thing. Like, what mostly has swayed you in that direction for the most part?
Just our experiences
growing up around it.
Yeah, personal experiences are what led us to believe that it's a thing, but we still want to get that scientific evidence to back up what we feel, what we believe.
Okay, so you guys have your own evidence that's actually pretty good. Like, you're one of the first groups that have shown me anything where I'm like, okay, there's maybe something. What's the best piece of evidence you've seen from another group that's like convincing to you guys? You're like, holy crap, that's also good. Because really for me, like what you guys just showed me, that like it's more tangible, it's more trustworthy because it's from you guys. But there's very little that I get from like the random TV group or the random group I meet out in the field that really has any kind of tangibility to. Is there anything anybody could show you? Or
well, when Ghost Adventures went to Alton, no.
There were eyes out in the woods. No shit, dude. There's animals out there.
No, I mean, I haven't really looked at much of other groups' evidence. I mean, I've seen some of your stuff online and everything.
That stuff's easy to debunk. Don't get too excited.
Yeah.
Never do.
So
we've got some good ones, but I mean, there's all. If it was definitive, it would be definitive, and that's kind of the thing.
I'd say for me, the most convincing type evidence would be like really good EVPs, but even those are easy to fake if you know what you're doing.
Oh yeah, I can fake them all day long.
You know, so I mean, coming from another group, if like you said, if you're not there, it's hard to say like, oh, their evidence is convincing.
So what so we know you're using SB7 with the compressor. Like what's your equipment pack like now? Like what are you guys using, and what's your most essential thing? Like what's the most important experiments you're running, things like that?
I'd say our most important piece of equipment is just us being out there, going off how we feel, and stuff like that. But if you in the tech side of it, just the standard equipment at the moment, like the SB7, recorder, EMF meters. Right now we have like the basic,
just the basic pack.
Yeah, just the bare basics. All we're running with right now. Our next purchase, for at least for me, is I'm going to see if I can't find a Geiger counter for less than $100.
That it's doable. So what's your thought process behind the Geiger counter? Like, what do you think that's going to show?
My thought process is kind of along the lines of the orbs or any kind of apparitions. If it's emitting its own light, where's that energy coming from?
Right. Photons do give off a radioactive signature. You could probably pick that up with an EMR detector, as opposed to a Geiger counter. I'm not real experienced with Geiger counters, so I'm not either. I'm a little out of. I'd have to do a lot of research on that. Mm-hmm. But I think it's got to be over a certain amount of rads before it starts actually hitting, and I think it's a specific type of radiation. I don't know, because photons are going to emit thermo radiation,
right? And it's probably more geared towards ionic radiation.
I don't know. I've seen one other group that did use a Geiger counter, but they didn't get anything with it, and the lady that was using it didn't know how to use it, and because she was asking me how to use it, and I'm like, I don't know. I have no idea. I've never used it. I have no need to detect radiation usually. Not that kind.
The commenters think there's a ghost in the studio.
Why is that?
You'll have to read the shadow person in the curtains, and like 3 people are talking about it, and Casey thought it might be the ceiling fan. I said, no, I'm smoking.
There is no, by the way, I have no ceiling fan.
I told him I took the blades aren't on the ceiling fan.
Yeah, because I'm supposed to be replacing that ceiling fan, and then I got to the wiring, and I'm like, well, F this. I am not in the mood to do this today. And so it sat like that for like 3 weeks, so it's like hella hot in here. But there's no sound contamination. Shadow person in the curtains.
I don't see anything. I looked.
We'll have to review the footage.
Yeah, I was watching. I turned on the video.
The paranormal podcast would be the most awesome place to capture paranormal evidence. Like, watch the podcast.
If there is a shadow person here, it followed them. I'm just throwing that out here. Don't
stop summoning demons with your stupid video.
You take it home with you.
Your freaking technodrome bullcrap. Oh my god.
You do not leave your pets here.
If you guys could investigate anywhere in the world, like, and money was no object, you could take whatever equipment you want, just exclusive to you guys, where do y'all want to go? What's
Waverly Hills?
Everybody wants to go. We have an offer to go there. We have an offer to go there, and we can't afford it at the moment. but that's right. That's right up by Haiti.
Yeah.
And she's gone there, and she's like, well, if y'all come up here, you can stay at my place. And then we can
And
go
she's
get
been
hit.
there before, right?
Yeah.
Has she gotten any good evidence?
Yeah, she's got
Damn
one video.
good.
Yeah.
Oh my god, I'll pull it up when we're done or whatever. But yeah, they're like looking down a hallway, and they're like walking down, and you see somebody walk across the hall, like
Oh, hell no.
like clear as day, and they're just like, hello? Like they think there's someone there,
Wow.
and there's just no one there, and I'm like, that's got to be faked, but we know her.
Yeah.
You know, it's from a trustworthy source. Now, to her credit, she says, well, I can't 100% say that nobody else in my group didn't tamper with that footage.
Oh.
That's another problem with some of the groups. Like, so my group has to be able to trust me not to doctor our footage. So that's why, like especially in the early days, like a lot of the evidence review and stuff, Allie would be sitting like right beside me while I was doing it. Find it, like when we found the what is it, the Great House Shadow, she was sitting right there beside me when I found the picture and pointed it out. Like, so she can vouch for me. I didn't Photoshop that one, but
The first one you took was the one I thought was photoshopped.
it's not Photoshopped. It's just not a ghost. Or maybe it is. I
It's
don't
just
know.
it's a cool picture, and I just thought I was thoroughly convinced you would fake that because I didn't know you that well at the time.
I didn't know me that well at the
I
time
was like,
either.
this
I didn't
ass.
realize that I would actually take like a 2-hour lunch because something spooked me inside of a warehouse. But
You was.
it was scary. Was behind the man with the white on his. There is no man with white.
She said it was behind Emilio and moved with the curtain. I don't know.
I don't know.
It's interesting.
We will review the footage later. Ghosts everywhere. You got any advice for any other groups out there trying to get into this?
Don't get discouraged when you don't find anything.
Oh God.
That's probably
yeah.
the biggest thing that I've noticed doing just our 2 or 3 investigations we've done is you're probably not going to catch anything at all.
If you're doing it right.
Right.
And if you're not willing to sit there and be bored out of your mind for hours,
Finally somebody
Then
else
just-
is telling the truth.
just don't do it. I mean, it's boring.
I
You're out
love
there
all our
just-
clients to death, but they're like, we want to do the investigation with you, and we're like, you really don't.
And then it's so funny because when we were doing that movie theater, they were like, "Why didn't the ghost do anything? Make the ghost do something." I'm like, "Okay, jump, ghost, roll over."
Yeah, and then they were
No, I know this
mad at her.
works. You're gonna be bored. It's gonna suck. You're probably gonna be sweaty because it's Texas.
I love doing paranormal investigations, so it's so weird to say like it's boring. Well, if it's
Yeah.
so boring, why do you like doing it? And it's the payoff when
Yep.
you do it over and over and over and over and over again, and you get nothing. And it is discouraging. Like we didn't get anything real for a long time, really. And unless we screwed up and contaminated, and we thought we got something, and then we've learned over time. But then when you actually
that one piece of
you
evidence.
stumble across that one thing, and you're just like, oh my god,
I like it because I'm an adrenaline junkie.
that's awesome.
I like it when
She
something
just likes
scares me.
trespassing on private property, and it's the thrill of almost getting arrested and all that.
Or murdered.
I don't know. You didn't seem to like it at Needful Things.
Dude, that place was terrifying.
Oh my god. And see, I should have cut that footage down a little bit, but I was just so amused by her phone call.
That was amusing.
I just put it in the whole... That's the biggest complaint I have on the episode so far is like, man, that conversation just took forever. And it's kind of dumb that the paranormal investigator just calls out of fear when they hear something. It's like, dude, you weren't sitting there.
Plus,
Like, I know how she felt.
plus,
Like,
I called because I thought one of y'all had stayed behind to screw with me, which is something y'all would do.
absolutely.
My dad would do that, and you would do that.
And you legitimately thought somebody had because your
Yeah.
dad had left the phone in the
Yeah,
building.
because when I called him, I heard the phone ring, and I was like, okay, it's Dad. I get it.
Have you gone... you said you live in Granbury. Have you gone into that location yet?
I haven't. It's one of the ones that we want to do. It's just time and money right now.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if she would let another group investigate or not, but it is just a cool place. I know, like, if y'all went in during normal hours or whatever, and you wanted to do like some recordings or ask questions, or she definitely let you.
right.
But it's just cool walking around because there is so much stuff. But like just walking in, you'll notice some things like right off the bat, like walking on the floor.
Oh, it's so creaky and loud.
Creaky things rattle.
I noticed that about a lot of the antique shops right there around the square. 'Cause a lot of them have creaky stairs.
They're old pier
creaky
and beam
floors.
houses. I
Yeah.
mean, they got the big crawl space under them. They're 100 years old.
But we tried so hard to debunk that dresser with that, and we just could not replicate it because that thing was shaking, buddy.
Wow.
It was just like, get out, and we were like, we're gonna get out. We're done.
That one bothered me because I felt trapped. Like if we're outside or something, I can run away.
You know what? In all the events that happened to you in there, you were always trapped. You were always on the opposite side of the escape hatch every time when you were there by yourself, and you can clearly hear something just moving around that whole house. You're over in that corner when that thing's shaking. Me and your dad are blocking off your only
way
exit.
out.
Yeah, and when you were in the other room and you were getting the other voices or whatever, your back was to the wall, which is normally what would make you feel safe, is not having anything behind you.
But mostly I felt like I couldn't run. But I think
Yeah.
it was something in the crawl space. That's what I've decided.
It's a good theory.
I don't live in a house with a crawl space. I don't get noises like that.
I don't know. What else you got?
I've got nothing.
Man, we got to work on our wrap-ups a little bit. You got any questions for us?
The next place y'all are going is that hospital, right?
Yeah, Yoakum.
Yoakum.
Yeah, we're going in March. And that God, that's expensive. We had to drop about like $400 to reserve that place.
So how'd y'all find out and get the Yoakum Hospital?
Actually, it was just like through word of mouth. At one of the conventions, somebody came up and was like, "Hey, have you guys done Yoakum Hospital?" And I was like, "No." We get people asking us if we've been to certain places all the time. And she knows the person that owns it, and she recommended just go check it out. And I went to the Facebook page and ended up talking to the lady and just name dropped on it. And so she was like, "Yeah, you guys can come out and do it." But we had to sign these insurance waivers for it and all that sort of thing. But oh yeah, I guess that is kind of a good question. Y'all being a new group, how do you find investigations?
Yeah, that's my next
sort of
one.
thing. Man, it's a lot of networking, a lot. When we were doing our first investigations, we lucked out that Sarah just knew like 15 places off the top of her head that just had rumors and places that she just knew how to get into at night, things like that.
My long history of breaking and entering really benefited our first couple.
And so, sadly, our initial endeavors weren't always on the up and up, which we really try to promote people to do things. We figured out how to do things the legal way later.
Contact the cops. That's a good one if you want to do a cemetery. Tell them you're going to be there because they're usually pretty chill about it.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say is like a lot of people want to do cemeteries at night, but what they do is they just roll up and start doing it, and then you get slapped with trespassing. But it turns out if you actually just call the sheriff's department for the county or whatever, they don't care. They just want to know
that you're not jacking around out there. They just want to know you're not messing stuff up. The other, you call the property owner.
Yeah.
If you get your information out online, places occasionally contact you.
Yeah.
That's how we got the Arlington Visitor Center.
Yeah. It really follows suit if you can kind of get out there and if you can do like a lot of independent stuff like that where you just find it on your own, or you pay to get in. A really good thing to do is go on like the ghost walks, and they're kind of campy or whatever, but we really promote those because the people that run the walks, they really know the history, and become friends with those people because they
know the people that own the businesses.
They know the people that own all the businesses that they're talking about, and if you can get in good with them, they can get you in, and it's going to cost money at first,
Right.
And you kind of got to save up some bank for it. But after you do a few of those and you get kind of known, then you'll start getting the like residential calls, and that's the people like, "Hey, can you come out to my house?" Which we turn a ton of those down because we're the science group. And they want you to come in and kind of verify, but then they also want you to do voodoo and get rid of, and we don't do any of that.
Yeah, so we have to refer someone we know to do
that.
that.
We refer a lot of those. You guys would probably be more in that element to do the residentials because you'll...
Just watch out for crazy people.
There's crazy people out there, but you'll be more in tune with like talking with people in ghost busting or whatever. Just be real careful about what you claim you can do. Like, don't say you can get rid of a ghost if you can't really get rid of a ghost or anything like that. And that's what kind of gets us not doing a lot of those as much. I mean, we still get a good amount of them, but we actually have a guy who's wanting to build property, and he wants us to, he's like, yeah, I'm going to pick like some places I want to build property. I want you to come out to the property and investigate the properties first before I decide to build a house on it. And I'm like, that's interesting. Okay. And I told him all the tests we would go through and all that. But it comes with like time. You just kind of got to get out there. But yeah, you're going to pay through the nose at first to go pay for all the popular places. And then the other places will just kind of present themselves after you kind of get out there.
Get on a lot of ghost hunting boards, share your stuff.
Yeah, that's kind of the best thing to do. Do podcasts with other groups. Play well with other groups.
Yeah.
Don't be like us. That's why we don't get a lot of investigations, because we shit on all the other groups.
Casey said, thanks for coming on the podcast, you guys. Maybe next time I'll get to meet you. I'm off for the night. Oh, yeah, because she went in Granbury.
Oh, that's right.
When we were out there.
All right. Well, what else y'all got? Anything? Promote your website. What?
You can find us at Pair of Normal Brothers, Facebook. That's about all we got.
Okay.
Yeah, that is all we got. That and Gmail.
Do you guys got plans for like a full-on website or anything like that?
Hopefully,
maybe eventually.
Yeah. But we want to make sure that this is going to actually kick off, and we're going to be able to start doing more and more investigations before we start, getting a domain name and going that whole route.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, one of the things that helped us is I was able to just bankroll it. Like, I didn't care if it didn't take off because we were just doing it for us or whatever. Right. And I had the spare cash to kind of throw at it. I was like, well, even if I don't catch a ghost, I want all this media equipment and all this crap. And I'm a gamer, so I'm like, I'll do streams and stuff like that. So I invest in the equipment, and like with that kind of came a lot of the other stuff, and it kind of fell into place. And I was planning on talking about it a little bit on this podcast, but I'm not as far into the project as I had planned to be. But I'm working on all the tools on the NTP website for like doing case files and networking and all that stuff. So a lot of that stuff will be in place for you guys. So pretty soon after we do the rollout on the new tools for paranormal teams, people will be able to find you guys on there too, in network and kind of share and stuff. So a lot of that'll be in there. But I really appreciate you guys coming on and talking with us and sharing your evidence and all that.
I appreciate you having us.
Thanks for having us.
I'm gonna, if y'all don't mind, I'm gonna post up all your stuff on our page to kind of get it out there and link it back to you guys. Kind of get it out there. And what's y'all's area like?
He's out in Granbury. I'm in the mid cities, Bedford.
Okay.
So
so you're kind of north of where what I would call like my area or whatever, and you're a little south. So we're kind of canvassing that whole DFW and south area there. And
we're in the same area. I mean, we're in Granbury.
Right. So you need to stay off my turf.
I'm in Granbury once a month at least.
No, it's awesome. And I'm really looking forward to like scheduling a joint investigation.
Oh yeah,
especially a live stream one, which I think would be good. And I'm thrown on if I want to just go straight to Kyle with you guys, since we have a joint interest in that place, and just geek out there, or if we want to find a neutral place where either we haven't been in a while or have never been, where none of us have been or whatever. But I really want to do like a joint thing.
Why not both?
And get something going. Yeah, I don't know. We'll hit the books. And
there's a few other cemeteries that we've had interesting times at.
I think Great House would be a good
Great
one.
House, George's Creek, Antioch.
I really want to go to White. I was trying to sell him on White Church. White Church is a good one.
I hate White Church.
It's mostly meth heads, but it's got some good stories.
If you want to be scared to death by people in giant trucks with gun racks, go to White Church.
George's Creek would be good, but I mean, there's a lot of places where I feel like we closed the book on. I don't want to take you there. I want to take you somewhere.
But I was thinking it'd be good to have them do a lot of those places. Like we talk about having another group go out there and debunk us. That would be they would be good for. I mean,
let's do.
And then compare their evidence to ours. They could maybe show stuff that we aren't getting. Different approach, different stuff.
My cohort here has a very good point. I like it.
It's
Somewhere
good to have
y'all
two
go
separate
more
groups.
scientific, and we do our thing. Maybe come up with different evidence.
maybe what we do is we let them do the paranormal investigation, and we observe them doing the paranormal investigation to make sure they're on the up and up, and then see what they come up with.
Well, fine by me. I just thought it was a good idea to have somebody else that we
That's
trust
a great
go in and
idea.
look.
It's like the best idea you've had all night.
Thanks. It's the only idea I've had all night.
All right, guys. Everybody have a good night. Check these guys out online. And we'll be back next week with some kind of show or whatever. I'm pretty sure. All right. Everybody have a good night. Thanks for being on, guys.
Thanks for having us.